1.1 has just arrived with the new best stun character Qingyi, and the next character dropping after will be Jiyan, which I assume a lot of players would be looking forward to picking up for no obvious reasons. However, the new 1.2 characters have been revealed, which may now leave some players unsure on who they should pick up. So I'm going to be going through the potential of the new 1.2 characters, team synergies you may want to aim to build in preparation, and ultimately, who would have the most value for your account between the 1.1 and 1.2 characters. Just note, the choice on who you should summon for is completely down to you, and this is just to provide some more insight into the potential of the 1.2 characters in hopes to provide some clarity. Just before we jump into it, would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel for more ZenlessZoneZero content and drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Now, the first character dropping in 1.2 would be Caesar, and she is confirmed to be a physical defense type character. So the fact that Caesar will be our first S-rank defense type character, she truly does hold a ton of potential. Just considering the aspects of our only defense character currently being Ben, we would be able to expect Caesar to provide a massive shield for the team, which will make mistakes in combat like missing a dodge or parry much more forgiving. Additionally, the ability to deal a great amount of DPS would also be expected. Likely not anywhere near the amount of DPS Jiyan and Ellen can pull off, but it will be a considerable amount. Now, defense type characters can be seen as a support character, but can deal much more damage than a pure support character, which is seen through both Ben and Seth due to the supportive capabilities within their kits, as Ben is able to provide a 16% crit rate buff for characters with a shield, and with Seth, he is able to increase anomaly build-up resistance to all attributes by 20%. So with that, we could see something similar with Caesar, such as buffing crit damage or attack for the team. But as Caesar will be an S-rank character, it's very likely she will provide much stronger buffs with high multipliers. So the ability to buff the team, provide some sort of sustainability, and deal a great amount of DPS would make Caesar an extremely valuable character packed with a ton of utility. Now, as for her team synergies, there will be a few obvious ones since she is part of the Sons of Caledon faction. So characters such as Lucy and Piper would synergize extremely well with Caesar. With Piper specifically, she would provide the entire team with an 18% damage increase when there is another character on the team with the same attribute or shares the same faction, which Caesar will be able to tick off both requirements. So you can play both Piper and Caesar along with many different DPS options, such as Grace being another anomaly DPS character, or even with Lucy, which would be able to provide up to 600 flat attack to the team, and when there is another character on the team with the same faction, her boars will inherit Lucy's crit rate and crit damage, which allows for even more off-field damage to be dealt. So if you have Lucy and Piper built up specifically and you enjoy their gameplay, you would be more incentivized to summon for Caesar. Now, the second character dropping after Caesar would be Burnice, and is also part of the same faction. So as unlikely as it would be to pick up both characters as a free-to-play unless you get extremely lucky, you could also use the both of them together, with the third slot being open to many different options. Now, in terms of longevity, defense characters are able to provide sustainability and buffs to the team, which alone is extremely valuable to make the character last for a while. However, the ability to deal considerable damage too increases the character's value and longevity even further, which makes Caesar more like a jack-of-all-trades character. So Caesar would definitely be a character worth saving some polychromes for. Now, the second character dropping in 1.2, as I just mentioned, would be Burnice, which is confirmed to be our fire anomaly DPS character. With the anomaly DPS characters, I do believe they will be meta forever within this game, similarly to the Dot team in HSR. So just due to Burnice being an anomaly DPS character, she would hold a ton of value. With Burnice being a fire type anomaly DPS, it means she would be triggering burn very often, which is arguably the best anomaly out of the other anomalies that deal dot damage, being Shock and Ether, since burn doesn't require you to attack the enemies for the ticks of damage to be dealt, as they are dealt automatically. So it's a minor detail for fire type characters, but it just ensures you will deal all of the ticks of burn to enemies. Now, Jiyan will be our S-rank physical anomaly DPS dropping after Qingyi, and along with having insane gameplay which makes her extremely fun to play, she enables assault damage to crit. So it would be fair to expect Burnice, that is dropping after Jiyan, to also introduce something new for the anomaly meta, such as maybe allowing burn to crit. So there is a lot of potential with what Burnice can provide to the anomaly meta, and as I have already said, the anomaly team would likely be meta for quite a while. Now in terms of team synergies, to no surprise, Burnice would synergize with any anomaly DPS character being Grace, Piper and Jane. However, as Jane is physical, Burnice, Jane and Caesar would likely be the best team composition, as both Jane and Caesar are physical attribute and Caesar shares the same faction with Burnice. Then of course both Burnice and Jane would be triggering disorder quite often through physical and fire anomaly build-up. So as difficult as it would be to pick up 3 characters back to back, they would make a great team if you manage to pull off a miracle or if you swipe your card. However, Piper would be an alternative for Jane since she is an A rank physical anomaly DPS, which does share the same faction as Burnice and Caesar. Jane would of course be better, but Piper would suffice if you can't pick Jane up. Additionally, other fire-type characters such as Soldier 11, Colada, Lucy and Ben would be characters that synergize due to their element. With Colada specifically, Burnice with Colada and Grace would synergize quite nicely, as Grace and Colada share the same faction and Burnice shares the same element as Colada. So Burnice would have great team flexibility, which definitely increases her value. In terms of longevity, Burnice shares the same amount or will have even more longevity than the other S-rank anomaly DPS characters, but it would depend on her kit. If she is able to introduce something new to the anomaly meta that will have an impact as significant as being able to crit anomalies, she will be a character definitely worth considering to pick up. Now in regards to the 1.1 characters, something to consider would be if a character has alternatives to them, naturally they wouldn't be as valuable as a character that doesn't have an alternative option. So as great as Qingyi is as an electric stun character, Anby is also an electric stun character which every player will have since she is free. Of course Qingyi would be the better electric stun character, but it doesn't mean Anby is a bad character, since she is good enough to take into and clear endgame content, which is all that really matters. So Qingyi next to Caesar and Burnice, which have no alternative options at all, just wouldn't be as valuable as them. Of course, the value of a specific character will change from account to account, since if you have pulled Zhu Yuan, Qingyi becomes a much more valuable character, but individual value she would definitely fall short to the 1.2 characters. With Jane though, she also has an alternative option being Piper, so again, Jane wouldn't be as valuable as the characters in 1.2 since you are able to use Piper as a physical anomaly DPS if you require one, and since she is an A rank character, most players should have her. Of course, Jane would be significantly better due to having much better gameplay, a much better kit that allows her to crit, and a much better character design. However, Piper is still a great anomaly DPS that can clear a ton of content. So individually, both 1.2 characters would be more valuable than the 1.1 characters, purely based off the fact that they can provide something no other character in the game can. Individual value aside, considering the kits of both Qingyi and Jane though, it would be difficult to just ignore how great they are, since Qingyi is able to increase the stun damage multiplier by 60%, which enables main DPS characters to deal a ton more burst damage. Also, with Jane being able to crit with assault on enemies will allow her to deal much more damage than every other anomaly DPS character. So as much as the 1.2 characters will have much more individual value than the 1.1 characters, both Qingyi and Jane though will still be amazing characters, so if you do like them, you should still definitely pick them up. As a side note, with Jane specifically, she will synergize extremely well with Burnice since they are both anomaly DPS characters. So unless you already have Grace, you probably would want to pull for both Jane and Burnice. Now lastly, just between Burnice and Caesar, I do believe Caesar may have more value overall. Burnice would likely be a great character, but there's multiple S-rank anomaly DPS characters already, and only one S-rank defense type character being Caesar. Also, the fact that Caesar has potential to help in cheesing difficult content where you would take lots of damage if you aren't quick enough to dodge or parry, along with buffing your team to deal more damage and will also be able to contribute in dealing damage, would definitely make her the standout character from 1.2. Defense type characters haven't really been anywhere near the spotlight, but when Caesar drops, I do believe she will portray the true value of a defense type character. Overall, the 1.2 characters look amazing design-wise and do hold quite a lot of potential. Out of the 1.1 and 1.2 characters, the characters that provide the most value really just depends on your account and what you are aiming to build. If it's an anomaly team you are aiming to build, then of course both Jane and Burnice would be priority. If you don't want to build an anomaly team and if you have Zhu Yuan, Qingyi would be priority. If you don't have Jiyan or you would want a character to possibly make combat much easier, Caesar would be the one to aim for. So ultimately, you would just need to consider the current state and what you would like to aim to build in your account. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel for more ZenlessZoneZero content, and if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. Also drop a comment down below on who you are likely going to pick up from the 1.1 and 1.2 characters. And yeah, hope to catch you guys later.